What's in the box?
Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the 80th anniversary Marvel Legends Love Triangle X-Men 3-pack review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey, I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about you.
And a quick look at the artwork on the side of the box. You can see what looks like some of the old 90s X-Men trading cards of Jean Grey, Wolverine, and Cyclops on both sides. These look great. All right, let's get these bad boys open and see what's what. All right, here we go. Jean Grey, Wolverine, and Cyclops 3-in-1 set. One of the most highly anticipated sets of 2019. With the release of Jean Grey in this pack, we have completed our most modern 90s style Jim Lee X-Men team from Hasbro, and I'm excited to go through this set. Let's go over their bios first. Jean Grey's bio reads, Jean Grey is an incredibly powerful mutant with the psychic powers of telepathy and telekinesis. Wolverine's bio reads, the mutant known as Wolverine possesses razor-sharp adamantium claws and the ability to heal virtually any wound. Cyclops' bio reads, Scott Summers can fire optic blasts so powerful they can only be harnessed by a special ruby quartz visor. So no doubt about it, if you're a Marvel Legends collector and you're a big X-Men fan like I am, this 3-pack is a no-brainer. You have to pick it up. It's a must. We don't have to wait to the end of the review for me to tell you that. You should absolutely pick up this set. If you picked up any of these figures previously, you still need these extra figures just because of the added accessories, the swappable parts, the playability, the fun factor that it adds with already owning their original single-carded versions. Also, if you never picked up the Rocket Raccoon Build-A-Figure Wave Jean Grey, then good. You didn't have to backtrack and spend an exuberant amount of money on the secondary market, and this looks to be the best 6-inch Jean Grey that we have in this particular costume. It's fitting that the three of these come packed together in a set labeled the Love Triangle 3-pack because yes, they have a history of a crazy love affair between the three of these. Cyclops and Jean Grey have pretty much been together since they both I guess joined the X-Men. They've been a couple, but Wolverine has always been in love with Jean Grey, and there's always strange sexual energy and chemistry between Logan and Jean. Now, I honestly don't know what happened when the younger X-Men came back into the 616 universe, and I think that was Bendis's doing, if I'm not mistaken, but in my personal opinion, I think Jean Grey should be dead and should have remained dead from the end of the Grant or through the Grant Morrison New X-Men run. If you haven't read that, it's going to be my first recommendation in this video. You should read it. I didn't particularly care for the art too much at the beginning, but it's a pretty damn good story, and the things that happened in Grant Morris's run led into Josh Whedon's run. He pretty much kind of used the same core team, and you guys all know that that's one of my favorite X-Men runs of all time, Josh Whedon's. I did like the new X-Men run a lot. I liked a lot of the things that they introduced, the secondary mutations and the Cassandra Nova as a villain who again showed up sorta in the Josh Whedon run, and the decimation of Genosha and Emma Frost joining the X-Men team and pretty much becoming a hero. And there was so many good things that came out of that run, and I liked how it sent Jean Grey off. I also like how they intertwined the Shi'ar Empire and Lalandra and some of those guys with the story around Jean Grey and her becoming the Phoenix and her eventual death during that run. So very, very good stuff. All right, taking a closer look at Logan, aka Wolverine first, which he did not come with this particular head sculpt out of the package, but for the sake of my little setup there in the beginning, I put this one on. So this is his fully masked head here, which looks like it's the same sculpt as the version that we got with the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure Wave Wolverine. In fact, the entire buck is the same. It's just that the deco, the color is different. I wanted the color to be sort of similar to this on that version. So this is sort of more yellowish, whereas the other one was like a golden sort of yellow. And this is the look that I really wanted here. So I'm happy about that. But it looks like maybe the flaps on his mask are a little different. Of course, I'm going to break out everything for some comparisons. This is my first time breaking these things out of the package and looking at them. So, you know, I'm going through the motions with you right now in real time, basically, okay? But it's funny, I saw somebody comment about his claws. I don't know if it was on Instagram or where, but it seemed like it might have been a young person that wasn't aware that at some point Wolverine had the adamantium stripped from his bones by Magneto. And I think that was in like 1993. And he didn't get it back to, I don't know, close to 2000 or something like that. I believe Apocalypse put it back or grafted it back to his skeleton. So it was revealed when the adamantium was removed was that he actually had bone claws. I think that's around the time that Marrow had joined the X-Men for a while too. And she had this sort of bone claw effect. And it was like kind of redundant to have both of them on the team. I don't know. A lot of people hated Marrow, but anyway, so that's why he has these claws, and I think that it's great that they included those just to give you a little more incentive to buy yet another Wolverine, basically. But these look pretty good. They were a little warped out of the package, just a bit. But they are a bit sturdier than the claws that we've been getting that are adamantium, so go figure. As far as his deco goes, and any like paint imperfections, there are a few here, little splotches and stuff through here that I think I could probably just clean up with a little bit of alcohol. But one thing that I noticed is that I'm not sure if this is the same peg that matches up with all of the other hand wrist pegs that we've received on previous Wolverine, so I'll have to check that out. But you can see a bunch of paint bleed on the inside of there. Other than that, the head sculpt looks pretty good, the paint looks pretty good. Like I said, I think I'll be able to just clean him up. I'm okay with the look of this one, so you know, you'll have to do your searching and do your due diligence at retail to pick one that looks the best, of course. And then he's got a couple other accessories here. Another set of interchangeable hands with the same claws that looks like the same claws that we received in the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure Wave Wolverine. And as you can see, they look awful. I hate them. I wish Hasbro would figure out something to make these or to give them to us where they're more sturdy, and they don't, and we don't have to go through the motions of trying to straighten them out when we want to do a setup or take a picture or what have you. He also has this sort of battle damaged head where you can see a little bit of his, what looks like, or what's supposed to look like his hair coming through the top of his mask. That doesn't look that great. I do kind of like the screaming face and his eyes squinted. It looks pretty good. You can see some what looks like it might be some bullet holes or some nicks and stuff in the mask here. You can see a little portion of it taken out on that right flap. And yeah, I like the way that looks, but the hair coming through the top of there, that didn't translate so well. That could have been better in my opinion. I think one of you talented customizers out there might be able to clean that up and make that look better. And then his final accessory is this unmasked head and his cowl, which looks to be the same sculpt design that we received with the brown suit Vintage Wave Wolverine, just in yellow to match this costume. I know some people that took that brown cowl and painted it yellow and went through all of those motions, but you know, patience, man, patience with Hasbro. You're gonna get it at some point. Whatever it is you want, they'll put it out. Not quite sure how I feel about this particular head sculpt. His face kind of reminds me of just those memes with like Thor, where he's like, "Is it or really though?" You know, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. It looks okay though. It's not terrible. It just looks a little fun. Let me know how you guys feel about it. But it is a different unmasked head, something new, and I'm with that. So it's slightly different from some of the other ones that we received in the past, and I'm cool with that. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and take the claws out of these so he can just have fists here, because you know, I have claws on the other Wolverine that, you know what, I don't know if I could do that because I don't know if the pegs match up. We'll see what happens. All right, taking a look at Cyclops next. The fearless leader of the X-Men. 90s Cyclops was kind of a punk, but you know what he's grown into today in the comics and how he's evolved now is pretty wonderful. It's pretty cool to have seen his evolution as a character, being one of the people that Well, I think he was still a popular character though, but I think his popularity has really gone up in the past like 7 to 10 years or so. But anyway, here we go with Cyclops with the leather bomber. It looks like it's the same deco as the Warlock Build-A-Figure Wave version, but it looks like the blue is a little darker here. I'm gonna have to break out the other for some comparisons, but just going off of memory, I think it looks like this blue is a little darker. And this here with the jacket, I don't know that this is anything new. Looks like it might be the same jacket from the Old Man Logan figure. Don't quote me on that. Again, I'll have to do some comparisons, but this is something that Hasbro absolutely had to have taken from the customizing community. It is no secret that they look at what people are doing, what people are trying to make that they haven't made, and then they'll kind of replicate that. So I'm pretty sure that Dave BX was the first one to do this mod. And then, even though Dave called himself not talking to me because I teased him about buying one of them Jurassic Park dinosaurs, it's all good. Still gonna give you your props, man. I'm pretty sure he did this first, and then my man Punker Mike went and did a tutorial and made a tutorial that is very popular on YouTube.
In this video, I'm going to show you the methods that I use to crack open a Marvel Legends torso. And I'm going to also show you how you can take the Old Man Logan arms and put them on the Cyclops body so you can have a Scott Summers rocking the jacket. So before we get started, just wanted to give a fatty shout out to John Papa Sergio and Dave BX. They're the ones who put me onto this mod.
He shows you how to do this. So if you are not able to pick this guy up for whatever reason and you miss out on him and you have the original Cyclops and you have more than one, then there is a way that you can actually put a leather bomber on the other version. All right, so I'm going on and on, but yes, Hasbro loves to take things from the customizing community. Yeah, I'm not 100% happy with the paint here, especially on the X on this shoulder. But when you did your own mod as a customizer, obviously the X wasn't there. So some people painted it, some people didn't. At least Hasbro actually went the distance here and added that, but there's a lot of bleed there and that doesn't look that great. But overall, I think they did a pretty good job with the paint. It does look leathery, it does feel leathery. You can see the zipper here. There are some pretty nice details. I do think they did something different with the skin tone here as well, and the hair. I think this whole entire head sculpt is better than the previous version. So a couple accessories packed in with Cyclops, including one interchangeable hand to kind of make it look like he's putting his fingers to his visor here. You got to do a little finagling because the elbow articulation is not the greatest, but you know, it does work. I would have liked to see some additional just kind of open hands for him so you can kind of interchange. That would have been cool, but aside from that, he's got a couple of different head sculpts. So he's got one here where his ruby quartz glasses are sort of like square, I guess, and you can see his eyebrows peeking up over the top of the lenses there, and you can see how his hair is swooped and how it looks, and that looks pretty good. And then he has another where his facial expression is a little more stern. You can see his ruby quartz glasses look a little more sort of 80s style, I guess. You let me know in the comments below which version is supposed to represent which artist's rendition of unmasked Cyclops. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you can see, you can't see his eyebrows, and his hair is kind of swooped down over his right lens. And yeah, both of these look pretty good. Now the test is going to be trying to put together a plainclothes Cyclops with the bomber jacket, one of the unmasked heads, and then we'll see Hasbro replicate that when they start to put out plainclothes of all of our characters, because I know that's coming. And it should be noted, just like the past version of Cyclops, these are all separate parts, so if you want to glue them in place, you can, because they are kind of a pain in the butt. But other than that, like I said, I think his deco here looks pretty damn nice. And last but certainly not least, we finally have another Jean Grey. And like I mentioned earlier, with the purchase of this figure, you can complete your 90s Jim Lee X-Men team, a modern version of the old school team, if that makes sense. Modern being that, you know, it's the most recent version that we've received in 6-inch form, but it's the 90s crew. All right, so she looks good. I don't really have too many gripes. There are definitely some paint imperfections throughout. You can see a little bit of the blue bleeding into the yellow there and here. It's not really yellow, it's like mustard, or I don't know. But I also saw some people complaining about the fact that her costume doesn't match their costumes, and It's not supposed to. If you look back at the original art, you know, it wasn't like they was all wearing the exact same colors. I mean, the color schemes were similar because, you know, they were on a team and that's how the teams were in the 90s. But the yellows definitely did not match up. But other than a few little minor paint imperfections here, I think she looks good. I don't know how I really feel about this head sculpt. Like, it looks good straight on. She looks a little bucktooth there, but the face is still clean though, and the hair is clean. It doesn't really get in the way. I didn't go over Cyclops and Wolverine's articulation. I'll go over her slightly, but you guys should already know what the deal is with that. This is going to be a long review, and I don't have time to do every single thing, but her head and neck is not hindered too much. You can get her to turn left and right. She can look down all the way. Obviously, she's not going to look up too far because it's going to be hindered by the hair in the back, but they've been getting better with the hair sculpts as far as them being soft enough to move them around and not being too heavy where they can't stand. All of her joints are pretty tight. I will say that the joints on Wolverine were just a little gummy. This is a separate part here. Also, I think I got to check that belt on Wolverine. The version on this one might be a little different, but unfortunately she didn't come with any extra hands. I would have liked some fists. You know, I want heads and hands. I always say that, but being that these are just bare white hands, I guess we could find some other female to swap hands with here. And yeah, I really do like the way she looks. So let's look at her one additional accessory. This I like. So this is with her hair pulled back, and she's kind of smirking, smiling, no teeth though. And so this has been a reoccurring theme. Each one of them have an additional head sculpt that does have like a smirk or a smile. Cyclops had, you know, one smirk and one stone face, as did Wolverine, I guess. Well, Wolverine was showing his teeth in 2 out of the 3. So, but yeah, I would have just liked a few more accessories with Jean Grey. Maybe some sort of psionic effect to show her telekinetic abilities. Some mind effect. They could have did something similar to what they gave us with Psylocke, but this is not the last we're going to see of this particular version. I'm sure she'll pop up in a vintage wave and we'll get something different. And another thing to note, in that new X-Men run, you saw her abilities slowly reaching godlike, and I like how they broke down her power and how it was just being amplified before the Phoenix Force took over her and before she ultimately died. Alright, let's knock out these comparisons quickly. So on the left, we have the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure Wave Wolverine, and like I said, you can see how the yellows are not the same. I do prefer the newer version here, and I already went and swapped on one of the hands just to make sure that the pegs were the same, so I was wrong. You can actually swap the hands in between. So this is the hand from the Apocalypse version. On this new Love Triangle 3-pack version, you can see that the blues don't actually match up, and you can see how the claws differ. Looks like they're the same sculpt, but you know, well, these are like a darker smoke gray and these are sort of like silver here, so that's how those differ. And then there's a look at the two head sculpts side by side. So I was wrong about that too. I thought there was some difference in the flaps, but apparently not. Looks like it's the same exact sculpt, just some different coloring. So I think I still prefer the skin tone of the Love Triangle version, although he looks a little more tan, looking a little more Puerto Rican or Dominican on the Apocalypse version. And the belts, I was right that they differ slightly. You can see the red on the Apocalypse version is a little, it's a little darker, and the red here is a little lighter. It looks like, and there's the little funny style smile, unmasked head on the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure Wave version, so it does pop on there. You can do that. And then there is the vintage wave Wolverine side by side with the Love Triangle Wolverine, and then here's a look at the cows side by side. So you can see that you can see the white on the vintage wave version over the eyes. No white on this one here. I wonder why they left that out. Interesting. But it does look like it's the same sculpt overall. Now this one I'm not feeling. This is the Cowboy Wolverine with the Love Triangle head. Head looks a little small. That Cowboy Wolverine head, both heads were properly proportioned in my opinion, so this one doesn't look that great. And the more that I look at this smirk, I don't like it. It just looks funny. This I kind of like. This looks like an error in the comic books. Not sure. how I feel about how it's sitting on there. You may need to like kind of half it on there because he kind of loses his neck. But I like the option. None of the heads will swap onto the old man Logan body because we all know that peg is a little larger. I don't know what happened there. But that's how those stack up side by side as far as the bodies go. And then I'll give you a comparison with Cyclops' jacket with this jacket real quick too. So it looks like the sculpt of the jacket might be the same, but obviously these arms are different. These actually might be the same arms from Gambit, possibly. And obviously they added the X, and they have the actual silver zipper here, which I remember commenting that I thought was a really nice touch. You know, it looked good. They didn't really give you any silver here. So that'll be one thing they'll add when they re-release this figure again, is just give you the silver on there for that little added detail. And then here we go, side by side, Warlock Build-A-Figure Wave Cyclops on the left and the Love Triangle Cyclops on the right. So like I said, the blue on his costume is a little darker on this version. The yellows on the accent pieces are different as well. Again, this sort of like a mustard that kind of matches Jean Grey's costume here. And then this one is yellow. You can see that the skin tones are just a tad bit different. I think I like the skin tone and the visor on this Love Triangle pack version a little better. And then let's do some swaps here. I don't know why you would want to put the Warlock Wave head on this body, because you know the blues don't really match up. But hey, if you wanted to do that, you could. If you wanted to paint up one, you could. But there's a look at the unmasked head, one of them on the Warlock body there. And I think that looks pretty cool. So I think this is a more modern version, and the other one is more old school. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I want to actually swap this one on the older like 80s style Cyclops. One sec. And there we go. This is what I wanted to do. This reminds me of the Marvel Select Cyclops, I believe, that came with an unmasked head with the lenses that look similar to this, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm doing this off memory, but this head looks a little large on this body. Just a little large. I think the proportions on this one look a little better, but I'm not really feeling the shape of the face on this. And I think the other head looks better on this body. Oh, and I'm all over the place. I forgot I had broke out Multiple Man to compare these arms. So yeah, it looks like the same arm as Multiple Man, which was the same arm that they used on Gambit too, if I'm not mistaken. So yes. And then finally, a look at the Rocket Raccoon Build-A-Figure Wave Jean Grey side by side with the new Love Triangle Jean Grey. And they did have a pretty nice head sculpt on the old school one, but I prefer the hair on this newer one. And the body overall, I hated the way the legs and the pelvic area worked on this one, especially these ball joints here at the pelvis. They were just awful. So the newer sort of T-joint here, she stands much better with the newer version. I think this costume is just better overall. But I do believe that these gauntlets may be the same, possibly. Let's see. I wonder if you could swap that. I don't know why you would really want to, but I will do a quick couple head swaps. Okay, so you can swap the head. Head here looks a little large though, this particular one with the hair pulled back. And I was able to take off the hands and pull off the little gauntlets there. So I'll show you a swap with that as well. The gauntlets might be the same. So I was able to take that off. And it should be noted. Let's put this back on. And do this. Yeah, it is that. You can swap the hands from the Rocket Raccoon version onto this version. And one thing that they did do that was cool with that version was they added nail polish here. So that was pretty distinctive. You can see the nail polish on the thumb there and on each individual finger here. So you do have an option of getting a fist. And like I said, there are other females with just white hands. The skin tones are not exactly the same, but it's fine. It looks fine, in my opinion. I always thought this hand was a little large though. But yeah, you can find other females with fist or other other hand sculpts. And so that's cool. And then there's the Rocket Raccoon head on the Love Triangle 3-pack body, which I don't like. That doesn't look that good. Obviously the paint on the costume doesn't match up. The hair sculpt I'm not mad with. It would be a nice swap, you know, just something for some more playability if the paint matched up, but the head sculpt on the newer version is definitely superior in my opinion. There's that. She loses her neck here too. and it should be noted that you can actually, pretty much in all of the Wolverines, you can pop out the claws. It's just a matter of whether or not you'll be able to get them back in a fashion that is okay with you. But these seem to come out pretty easily. Only thing is, it leaves that huge gap in the fist there. It would have been nice if just the claw came out and this portion where the claws come out was still there. So I don't really like that, but I was able to pull out a couple of claws here. All right, I'm getting up out of here. Excellent set, great set to own. A lot of playability, a lot of fun factor. Get out there, get on the hunt, find you one with good paint applications, and you know, and that's that. Now the set does leave just a little bit to be desired. There are some things that I wish they would have included in the set. A couple of extra hands maybe, a blast effect for Cyclops. You know, they gave us that blast effect with the old X Factor version of Cyclops, but not here in the pack. I don't like that they're giving us 3 packs and 2 packs and 4 packs, and they're not putting additional accessories in these packs. The packs are bonus packs, so put more bonus items in the set. Don't skimp out on the sets. All right, until next time. Peace.
That's crispy.